All right.
Are we on?
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. Just going to wait for a few more people to get here. Let's have you chat in the chat box that you can see us and hear us loud and clear. Make sure everything's working okay.
Tell us where you're from. You want to bring that close to you?
Yeah, that makes more sense, huh? Now that I have this.
Here. Welcome, everybody.
Man, it's a full house.
Yeah.
Kermit, what's up? I see y'all. RJ, New Orleans. Tracy, hey. Daniel, what's up? Sup, y'all? Vanessa, thank you. Hey, everyone.
Tracy Norwood.
Quantez and Ileana from Byram, Mississippi.
Hey, Regina.
Sarah from New Orleans. Cool.
Nice.
It's a big crowd.
Going global.
We just set up some new mics, so let us know if you can hear us loud and clear too.
Can see and hear you guys.
Happy to
Tammy
be here.
Anderson Brown.
All right.
Welcome, welcome, y'all. Let's wait a few more minutes just to get everybody in and settled. Hopefully, y'all are in front of your computers, of course. Pull up Actors Access, and that's pretty much all you'll need.
Yeah, and if you have some questions already that you know you're going to need answers to, then you can start chatting those in, just so I have a queue when we go to Q&A. I already have some that I can start going to. So we'll get there. All right. Cool. Ready to get started?
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Wanetah Walmsley.
I'm Jason Edwards.
We are the founders of Trendify Media. We are a modern media company that specializes in original content in both traditional and new media forms. We are also two actors. Very happy to help you today navigate through this technology, helping you maximize your actors' access. I kind of want to give you guys a broad overview of why we're all here today. At the end of this, you're going to learn that you have 4 tools that really matter on Actors Access for you to get to the top of the submission pool. Okay, so what I would like to start off with is saying, first of all, I'm just gonna talk to you like you don't know anything about Actors Access. And the reason is that a lot of you on here are pro and seasoned actors, but you just maybe don't know a lot about Actors Access as a platform. And then some of you are just very new, starting in this business, and I'm gonna hold your hand today and walk you through it. So forgive me if I'm boring you in the beginning. Hopefully you walk away from this experience learning something, right? But that being said, just if you have a question, go ahead and type it in as we go. I'll be stopping to be like, is that clear? Does that make sense? And just chime in, participate. We love that. We know that you're out there and you're listening, and this really is just catered towards you. So no question is a stupid question, of course, but we mean that. Okay. So this is also for actors with representation and actors without representation. So if you're self-represented, Actors Access is your best friend. And if you are represented, then you need to know how to help your agent help you. Okay, so this is what it's all about. What we're going to do is start off by explaining what Actors Access is. So there is a company called Breakdown Services, and Breakdown Services has 2 faces. One side is Actors Access, and that's the side that we're going to focus on today as actors. On the other side is Breakdown Express, and that is where casting directors, casting offices, and agents and managers all connect and correlate. So basically, Actors Access is like this love triangle, okay, for actors and agents, representation, and casting to all come together to make this thing work. Okay, so let's kind of break down the process of how this all works. How do we end up trickling down to get a job? So it starts with a project. somebody has a project they're producing. They're going to find a casting office. That casting office is going to send this project to Breakdown Services. And what they're going to do is they're going to break it down. They're going to break down the story synopsis. They're going to break down the characters. And then they are going to send that out to agents and managers. Your agent or manager or you will then see that project and then submit you to that casting office. That casting office will then select you to audition, and then you will receive an email called a CMail, ABC, casting, CMail. That CMail will have all of the breakdowns, all the information you need, and then you will be able to audition from that CMail. Now, let's say that you self-tape an audition. You are then going to upload your audition tape to something called an EcoCast. Okay, once you upload that audition, you send it off, it goes straight to the casting department. There's also something now called an EcoCast Live. And basically what that is what we're doing here today is if we were on Zoom, I was auditioning for you, the casting director, in real live time. And that would all be held on this platform of Actors Access. Okay, so that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, and that was just an overview. We're actually going to break down each step and actually show you screenshots of how the process works front to back. But that was just an overview. So even as she said, if you're experienced and you're like, I already know all this stuff, we are going to show you some stuff that most actors don't ever get to see behind the scenes of what casting directors see, what your agent sees when they submit you, all those different things too. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so let's give you a little brief history on Breakdown Services. And I'm only really telling you this so that you can be thankful for technology, because if you're like me, you're always complaining about it. But the truth is, this is so much easier than it's never been easier to be an actor. So I want to show you what it was like then. So what did I wrote down the date. So Breakdown Services was founded by a man named Gary Marsh, and it was in 1971. So back in the day, they didn't have the internet. This man would literally go to every studio, hand write the breakdowns, hand deliver them to these agents, and then actors would have to go to the agent's office, pick up the breakdown, write it down, get their sides, and then audition like that. So, y'all, we're really lucky. That's the only reason I told you that. Okay. All right, let's get started.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we are going to open up an Actors Access account. Now, I'll say this, just to get started. If you have representation, then you know that you don't have to purchase an Actors Access account because your agent has that for you. So if there's ever a breakdown or anything that you want to be submitted for, you do not have to self-submit. You could just contact your agent and ask them, hey, submit me for this. But for those of you out there who are self-represented, this is going to be your main tool on how you can submit yourself to jobs. Are they seeing my screen, love?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to log out of here.
I already did.
Oh, you did? Well, that's me.
You're
Hey,
logged
that's
out, but you have
me.
to set up a new.
I'm going to register. We are going to go down here to this beautiful green button and register. Okay, so if you can register for a Facebook account, you can register for Actors Access. We are not going to go all the way through this, but I want to show you how easy it is. The main thing that we're going to talk about is the two different types of accounts that you can have. So to have an Actors Access account is totally free. You can go on there, you can scroll, you can shop for jobs all day long, totally free. You can look at what's out there and have a profile for free. If you are going to submit yourself regularly, they have an annual subscription for $68 a year. I would highly recommend, they're not paying us, by the way, to do this, But I would highly recommend financially, if you are serious about your craft and you really want to look for jobs all day, every day, go ahead and purchase it. It's $68 a year because this has changed a lot. So if you look at this right here, you get 2 free headshots, a slate shot, which we'll talk about. The first one is free. The sides, you have to pay $1 per page for sides. $2 for the submission, meaning once you send off all of your headshots and everything you are to submit yourself to a role, $2. And then any media that you have is $3 per submission. So at the end of it,
too. So if there's multiple scenes and they want 5 different things uploaded, that's $15, 20, almost $20 that you're paying for one submission. So
if it's 1 page long, if
Yeah,
it's
right.
1 page. So go ahead. It's definitely worth it because if you get the annual subscription, you can just send away, just a numbers game, right? You can just shoot.
if you have an agent, as she said, though, you don't have to pay this annual fee. It's already covered. So you don't have to pay for submissions and things like that afterwards.
And that's only if you go through your agent.
Correct.
So if you're somebody who's like, look, my agent's not really submitting me or working for me for some odd reason, you can go on there, and if you submit yourself, self-submission, you still are going to have to pay one way or the other. So just go through your agent. Okay, so let's register. I am 13 years or older. So first name, what's the name on there? Andrea. And then last name, Williamson. I don't know, there might be an Andrea Williamson on here. Usually it works with 2 names. We'll just put in, do I have to do all of this, you think?
No, I don't think so. Just
Yeah,
scroll
okay.
down and show all the fields.
So same basic things, create a username, create a password. I will just say this, being someone who tapes a lot of actors and coaches a lot of actors, make sure your password is pretty easy and go write it down. Make sure you keep account of it because it's your Actors Access account. I don't think anybody's really gonna break into it, but just remember, make sure you know it.
You don't want
Just
that
to help
last minute
everybody.
panic when you need to be on a EcoCast live and you can't remember your login.
Right,
We've
and you're
been
on
there
somebody
before.
else's computer. Just agree to the terms of service. You would save and continue, and you would be online.
You may
I
have to
think-
confirm. It's been a while since we set up our accounts, but you may have to confirm it. But then she'll log into her actual account, so you'll see what happens after you've completed this step.
Yeah. Okay. So let's play pretend as we do as actors. Okay. So I am going to get out of here. Go through this stuff. Should I just go back one more?
Yep, one more.
And okay, bam, I'm logged in. Okay, so if I'm logged in, let's just take a tour. Right now, let's just focus on this. So all of this right here is really what we're going to focus on today. But I want to go to my profile as well, right? Because I think last time what we did was, I want to make sure that they fill out everything. So where would I think it's here. Let's go to manage profile. About me. Bam. Okay, so this is like the really mundane stuff, but you'll see a little later why this stuff really matters. What you want to do is be completely honest, but be very, very thorough. Because what we'll show you later is how casting and how your representation submits you, and all these minor little details actually matter. Okay, so hair, brown, gender, whatever your gender, however you identify, hair length, long, all these things seem really tedious. Fill them all out, okay? Ethnic appearance, this one is a tricky one. So they are literally asking you for how you appear. So if you're ambiguous, go ahead and put all the things that you can appear as. It's not asking you your actual ethnicity, Okay. Over here, make sure your union status is filled out. And let's scroll down here. These athletic endeavors, make sure that you're being honest, but notice also that they don't ask you, they don't give you an option of like beginner, intermediate, advanced. So if you're, you know, kind of a mediocre kickboxer, but you kickbox, go ahead and kickbox. Pogo stick, maybe I should uncheck that. That was like 10, 20 years ago on a pogo stick. But make sure all of this is really filled out. And once again, be honest, because I'm telling you, especially for commercials or anything, your agent is going to go in there and start clicking these minor details and find you. And when she gets you that roller hockey audition, you better know how to roller hockey. Performance skills, same thing. This is especially helpful for special projects, special skill commercials. They happen a lot.
And there are so many of these that are actually in breakdowns. So somebody, your agent will be searching for somebody who specifically can play the French horn. And if that's something that you just have in your back pocket that you did, there's very few people that will have that thing. So just make sure every little thing you fill out, because you never know. I've seen so many random things that are called for, especially for commercials, but also for films.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to round about, and we're going to come back to a point about special skills. So really go through there, make sure accents, make sure you can do them well. Fluent languages, that's a huge one. Additional skills, disabilities, that is huge. This is one of the hardest things to find and cast. So please, like, you know, if you have anything like that, do not be shy. Don't think that it takes away from you. What makes you unique is what makes you marketable. Okay, so we're going to go through all of this. You can go through all of this on your own time. Make sure that you save. All right, and now let's go back. And you know what, if you are a brand new actor, just entering the game, if you'll put that in the comments, Jason can kind of see, we can kind of know and gauge where we want, how fast we want to go and what we really need to spend time on. Okay. Let's go into edit resume. Thank God for Actors Access resume. Your resume is never going to be easier to do than on Actors Access. If you have spent time, I don't know, space tab, all that jazz, the 3 columns, this is the easiest thing. And the best thing about this is that you can always print it and it's easy to email. And when you email your Actors Access resume, you also give them access to all your reels and your photos and all that stuff. So they get a whole package. Okay, so let's say that you are just starting and you are going to just insert. And I would start with television. I know mine starts with film. Some people say you start with your strong suit, I guess, but TV, film, and then you can do theater down below. But this is, we're kind of focusing this on actors for film and television. So television, let's say I wanted to do television, and that is just going to be a header by itself. I would just click header. And now I can move this up and down. I can switch it. I can add something here. Film, I think last time we had questions on, you would put the project, and then the role for film, television would be supporting lead, for television would be co-star, guest star. You would put the type of role, and then for film, you want to do the director, and then for television, you want to do the network. So I'm finished with that. I can, let's see, do another one, and so on and so forth. Feel good?
Yeah. And these are, like you said, very easy to move around. So you can, I always just, as I get a new credit, I'll put it on the top and you can move them around. If there's something that's really significant, like you worked on NCIS and that's a recognizable show, then maybe you want to keep that towards the top a little longer than a short film that you did or something like that.
True.
But other than that, I think this is a really good layout.
And what else is really good about this is you can save all of your work forever. So, if you have a PDF style resume that you're going to give someone a hard copy or something, you can narrow that down and really, but this has kept like tabs of everything that you've done since you started, So I just think that's really nice because if you are also a theater actor and you're just not used to having a theater resume anymore, you can actually go back and see like, oh, these are all the projects that I did in the past.
Yeah. A common question we get too is, should you put background work on your resume? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there is something, I know that we have different backgrounds when it comes to background work. I think that if that is all you have, then absolutely put that I have been on set before. I'm someone responsible who shows up and I've been on set before. I've been in the environment. So absolutely. But I do think that once you start really getting credits, that those things can move out. And more important than background work to me, if I'm looking at someone's resume, is training.
Yeah, and I would say with background work, I typically recommend not putting it. So I'm opposing thought, but I also say, if you are going to put it, just don't embellish what you actually did. Don't say you worked and you were a role on a show when you were just part of the crowd and you weren't a SAG paid role there.
Right, because they're going to be like, let me see your reel.
Yeah, especially where it burns you the most is when you put background work on a show that you then get an audition for later on, and then the casting director either A, thinks they somehow booked you on it before so you can't work on it, or B, they just think you're lying because they know they didn't book you on it. So either way, it burns you.
Yeah. What might be smart? My background isn't with a lot of background work, so I don't know. I didn't start out that way. But what would be smart to me is under your skills on your, as a new actor for your resume, it's going to be really heavy with training and then your special skills. And so under special skills or training, I would put extensive background work in these films. I think that'd be a good place to put it. Mm-hmm. So it's really clear what it is. All right, let's save this and move on. Any questions on that?
Any questions on resume? Let's see some of these comments here. Andrea says, can I use my phone with Actors Access today? Yes, for the most part, you can check auditions and you could submit yourself and things like that. Uploading resumes, real footage, stuff like that, you're probably gonna have to do with your computer. You can check a lot of things with your phone.
Oh, that's a really good question. You know what else you can do is you can get text messages about your auditions now. I like it. He didn't like it. I like it. That on your phone, you will get a CMail notification as a text message.
Let's see. Regina says, Quantes is still new, but has been taking acting classes, did land a non-paying role in a short film. That's where a lot of people start. So that's awesome. Congratulations to Quantes. Let's see. Andrea says, old actor, but just moved to USA, so new to Actors Access. Cool.
Nice.
So thanks for being here. And then Mark says, typically you don't put commercials on a resume, so it's totally okay to add commercials onto your Actors Access. If you don't have much on there, then yes, it's when you start getting a lot of film and television credits or a lot of theater credits, then typically they'll put the commercials available upon request or something at the bottom. But if you have a few of them, especially notable ones like a big national commercial, then I think you should put those.
Absolutely. And with a commercial, that's a really good question because I know that we're told to put conflicts available upon request, but it's kind of a sneaky thing. You don't want the commercial that you did to conflict with this commercial that you might be up for. But if you're up for that commercial, it is going to conflict, so honesty is always the best policy, but I would absolutely do a commercial header and list all of your commercials when it comes to Actors Access. The other thing I wanted to say about this, I had two things to say. One about Quantes and being new and starting off with background. What you're going to learn today is regardless if you are a new actor and if you are just a veteran actor, what you're going to learn today are the 4 things that you need that regardless of anybody else's experience, you can still get to the top of the submission pool. So you're doing great, and everybody does start somewhere. So just be where you are and just know that this game goes fast and you'll get to where you want to be very, very quickly. Okay, so manage your profile. We don't have any questions about resumes, but I did want to show them to print it.
Okay, you can go back to your
Um,
resume.
I want to say this about the resume, because your resume, if you ever have to print a resume, these days we don't print anything. We don't even bring like hard copies of our headshots anymore, but you should have a few. But if you ever need to print your resume for a commercial audition, you can easily do that here. But I will say that your resume might be a little long. So you might want to have a separate PDF one, because your resume should just be 1 page. And this is, obviously it's not gonna be 1 page. It has a lot of additional stuff that isn't on my traditional television and film resume. But if, oh, this is you, let me move you. So right here, if I were to go to print, here it is, and it's also nice and neat, much better than what I can do on my own, so. Yeah. Yep. This is also great because you can email it. And like we said before, if you were to email your Actors Access link, they don't just get this, they get all of your media. They can just really just kind of scroll through on your whole entire profile, check out all of your photos. It's awesome. All right, do I go here? Let's go into size card. That's my,
yeah,
you want me to just go there from here?
Yeah, because you're seeing the profile view.
Okay. Photos. Let's talk about photos. That's not it.
Let's see. So uploading media, Andrea asked for uploading media or clips better than longer show reels. So we'll get to that in just a second, because we're going to talk about all the different types of media you can upload, and we'll answer that.
Really good question though. Really good. Andrea with the good questions. Okay. So let's go into photos. So as we read earlier, you get 2 free photos. Okay. So what we would recommend is doing a theatrical headshot and then a commercial smiley headshot. Those are your 2 roundabouts. When you're first starting, you just want to cover your basics, you know, and just kind of get into the game. So don't worry about all this extra stuff that you're going to see here. It's your agent is going to use like 1 headshot of you anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine, even though you have a wide range of headshots and you can swap those out, oftentimes your agent, unless it's a very specific role, they're probably just going to use your main headshot. So make sure that's the one that you want always shown, because when they have 200 people on their roster and they're just trying to submit a bunch of people, it's very hard for them to go through each person's headshot list of 20 and pick the right one for that role. It's just very time consuming. I'm not saying they don't do it, but it's just when they're really busy, it's unlikely.
Yeah. And so, you know, you have control over which one you want to be your default. But if you take a look here, Actors Access, and then I have Action Talent, just different agencies, and they have control on their end of which ones they want to make your default as well. So I wouldn't worry about these tabs up here. What you want to look at is add new photo. And this is the same thing that you would do on any social media platform. You would literally browse, upload, and then it will show you, it will come out to, I believe a new additional photo is $10. Mm-hmm. So you can have as many photos as you're willing to pay for on Actors Access, okay? Pretty clear, easy peasy?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about, so we have our resume and we have our photo, and that is kind of the basics of everybody getting started. Some people don't have resumes on Actors Access, but what you want to know as far as the tools, you definitely need a photo, right? but go ahead and start a resume. And if you are like, oh, I don't have anything to put on my resume, then that means that you need to get training. You should have training on your resume. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about something called a slate shot. And this is kind of the secret missing piece to getting yourself up to the top of submissions. A slate shot is literally a 7-second max video of you saying, hi, my name is Wanetah Walmsley and I'm blah, 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 blah.
Don't do that, but I mean,
you could, it's up to you, just keep it 7 seconds. I mean, mine aren't very serious, but what this is, y'all, is that we have to realize that Breakdown Services, Actors Access is a business. So you are getting rewarded for purchasing an item, a product from their company, right? So just look at it as like, let me show you an example. You absolutely do not have to do this. Okay, so here is a serious theatrical headshot. So I just did like a serious theatrical slate shot.
I don't know if they're hearing that. Let's see.
Well, but they saw it.
Okay.
I'll show them another one. Is it up? So this one, good old country girl. So I did a country girl slate shot.
One second. Technical.
He's the tech guy. Gotta love your tech guy. Well, what you worried about?
That's fine. I'm just wondering.
They don't need to hear my slate.
It's awesome. I'm proud of it.
Basically, I'm 5'4". That's what it says. And then I have another one, right? So I have 3 slate shots. So you might be wondering, like, why does she have 3 slate shots? And it's because I have 3 slate shots on each headshot that gets used the most. So hit up your rep, or if you're self-submitting, ask them, which headshots do you use the most? They'll let you know. I guarantee you it's like 1 or 2. Those are the ones that you need to attach your slate shot to, okay? What you also need to know about this is, let's say a year later, I've outgrown this look, I look much older, I look different, I need new headshots. When I take this headshot down, that slate shot I lose that slate shot as well. So that slate shot is dependent on whatever headshot that you put on there. So something that I have been telling students, sorry, I'll hit the mic. If you go into a new headshot session, what you should absolutely do is, because your slate shot does not need to be fancy, just turn your phone sideways, right? And whenever you are in, if this is my, my wardrobe that I'm wearing for that headshot, and you already look your best and your hair is exactly the same, your makeup is ready, go ahead and do a 7-second slate shot. So now that slate shot is kind of like your headshot coming to life. Yeah. And you can schedule, you can find anybody, any taping service, or get a friend, and just make a nice quality. It does not have to be fancy slate shot. Add it to your headshot. It's going to help you so much. Okay.
Here's a couple questions on headshots. So Daniel said, where was that? Should you remove old headshots when you add new ones?
I don't necessarily, I'm like a big believer on, like, I paid for it. You know what I mean? All your removed photos are over here. If you take a look, like, you should remove the ones that you no longer want your agent to use.
Or that you no longer look like. If you've lost a bunch of weight, added a bunch of weight, or just gotten older and gotten gray hair, or things have changed drastically, then you don't want those things representing you anymore.
Right. So yeah, but I mean, you don't have to remove them, because I want to say the reason I don't is because I had an instance where I needed to go back and find a certain look that I just no longer had. And I hadn't changed that drastically. It was just like an outdated photo that I no longer wanted to use, but it was still useful. So.
Tracy said, I couldn't hear the slate shot. Do we say our location and if we have representation?
I would not say your representation, because representation changes, and also so does location.
Yeah.
So a lot of times for your auditions, they're going to ask you where you're located anyways. So if someone's on there scrolling and really vibing on you and they love you and they click on it, and you just moved to Atlanta, but you know, on your slate shot, it says New Orleans, then maybe they'll pass on you if they're in Atlanta. So I wouldn't do anything like that. I say I'm 5'4". I do a regular slate shot in one of them where I'm like, hi, I'm Wanetah Walmsley, I'm 5'4". Like, I'm going to stay 5'4" for several years, you know? And so that's a generic one. But in some of these where it's more of a character headshot, I actually like play the character that I'm usually called in for. And I say something silly.
Nicholas asked something along that line. For the CD on a slate shot, what is the casting director looking for? Is it how you sound, your personality, attitude, or just basic height and location?
Really good question. So I have a lot to say about this actually, because the slate shot, honestly, is really for breakdown services. Like I said, like, you know, it's something extra that you can add to your account to get premium service, right? But, and as a casting office, there is so much that comes from your voice and your personality and the way you carry yourself and seeing someone's energy on camera versus just a stiff photo. I've seen so many headshots where I'm like, whoa, I get this impression of this actor that is totally different once they come in and they start speaking or they start reading, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, your essence is totally different from your headshot. So that is definitely something that they're looking for, because you might look a certain way, but you might sound totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it always helps.
Yeah, and it is something, although it is a way that breakdown can make more revenue, but it also is, because I've worked in casting offices before, it is something that they actually click on and play if they're trying to find a certain type of character or somebody who has a certain type of voice, or so they do look at those things as well.
And I will say this too about your slate shot, you know, and I might have mentioned it, but if it's a commercial like happy headshot that you're attaching the slate shot to, say something bubbly and happy and be your commercial best self. But if it's a dramatic headshot, then I would have a more serious tone to my slate shot as well.
Okay, who do you recommend for headshots? There's a lot of great people in town.
Is Vanessa, are you local?
Yeah, let us know if you're in New Orleans. New Orleans, yes, she is.
I definitely would recommend Waffle Bordelon and Laura Flannery. You would check both of them out. I think wafflebordelonphotography.com, and you can find him on Instagram, as well as Headshots by Laura on Instagram as well. And I believe hers is Laura Flannery Photography, if you want to type that in for them.
Yeah. There's a ton of great people in town, so just check out their work. Make sure that if you do get headshots, that it's someone who does film and television headshots, not just somebody who can take great photos or does wedding photography only and can also do a quick shot for you, because it's a different style and it pops a different way. So just make sure you're going to somebody who has done film and television headshots before.
And always choose somebody that you vibe with. You know, because when you're during a photo shoot, you want to be really comfortable, you know, and you want to have fun and just like have a really great experience, because that moment is definitely captured. So if you like the look of, say, like Laura's, you know, over Waffles, but all of your friends are going to Waffle, then, you know, just be true to yourself. It's about your personal preference. At the end of the day, you should be really proud of what you're submitting out there into the world. All right.
Cool. I see a lot of questions about demo reels and clips and things, so we're going to be moving to that in just a second.
Do you guys have any questions about photos before I move on to this, or slate shots?
Or resumes. Margaret said, under training, should we indicate the length of the training, as in 1 year, 6 weeks, 1 day? I haven't really seen that often.
I will say this as a coach. If you have taken a workshop from me, I would not want someone saying that they trained with me. So if it's a one-day workshop, I would list that just as in respect for the coach and in honesty for casting. I took a one-day workshop with this casting director. But if you studied for a very long time somewhere, you know, and you're proud of that and you want them to know, like, I had thorough training, I would go ahead and list that. It's not going to hurt you. I think more importantly is be really specific about the type of training that you received. So, you know, acting consists of a lot of different training, a lot of different methods or forms. Was it on camera training? Was it audition technique? Did I do a scene study, cold reading technique? So make sure that you're really specific.
Yeah, I do know several people that I've trained with, they get very frustrated when somebody pops in the class one day and then they hear that they have been training with them, even though it's only been one class. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Can I move on?
I think so. If you have any other questions I missed, because there's a ton of questions coming in, just retype it if you don't mind, and then I'll make sure we answer it.
Sweet. So I am going to go to our very next tool. Can I go to, let's do it this way. Let's talk about size cards before we get to media, because this is something, I'm not gonna lie, we overlook it too. Nobody wants to like spend a day going through all your measurements, but you really should, because the reason, especially for commercials, they always want to see your size card. And so to avoid time later telling you you're going to need to know this stuff anyways, so keep it up to date. Sit down, do it one time, and then, you know, just make sure if you're ever gaining weight or losing weight, just keep it updated, because once you book a job, you will receive not just commercial, but like film, television, you'll receive a call from wardrobe and they will want to know your sizes. And this is what's so great about this, because you can just email a size card. You just click on it, like, hey, let me email you the size card. You just email it just like a regular email. And now they have all that information. And some of this stuff is not going to change. So that's all I'm going to say about that, you know?
Yep.
Okay. Now for the final, manage media.
So Nicholas says slate shot. So in addition to what you just said, it's like getting a VIP pass at Disney Park versus all the other people waiting in line for 2 hours.
Almost, Nicholas. But yes, we love your attitude. We love the way you think. This is literally what we're teaching you today. So headshots, resumes, right? That's you're in the pool, you're in the back of the line with everybody else. Now you got a slate shot, you're coming up in the world. You're like in the middle. You're not quite to the top, it's in the front of the line, but you're almost there.
Yeah.
But now that we're here at media, now you've got a front row ticket.
And real quick, Andrea said, thoughts on professional commercial pregnancy photos should you include for possible expecting mom roles? Like if you have a shot of...
I think that's a good idea, but I mean, you're going to have to be... I don't think it could hurt you. I think that's one of those things that you need to put in your actors access thing or your agent. I know you have representation, so you could include it, but really they don't expect to hire, if it's a commercial, they might be like, we're looking for real pregnant moms, right? So that's a time, but it's a very time limited thing. You can have
9 months for that photo to be
right.
valid.
You better hurry up and snap that shot.
But yeah, I think it can't hurt you, but I wouldn't say it's required. And oftentimes for roles that in a film or television show for pregnant women, you don't have to be pregnant to do it, but it couldn't hurt to just have it on standby and your agent can forward it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a possibility. It's definitely not. Sometimes I hesitate to say, well, it couldn't hurt, because sometimes casting, they're just really finicky. And if they see something like that and they just don't understand why it's there, they might have a bad taste in their mouth. But
I mean, it could potentially, I guess, be challenging if they're unsure if you're still pregnant and it's like a heavy action role or something. So maybe if they scrolled through and saw that, you know?
Well, I think, yeah, because I think this is, I love how we're analyzing this, first of all, but I think the only time that someone is really going to want you to be pregnant is for a commercial. So that is a limited time thing that where timing just needs to work out perfectly. But anything else, I really think that, you know, they're just going to stuff you. My very first job was a playing pregnant, and they stuffed me. So it wasn't required.
All right, let's get into some reels and
Okay.
clips.
So earlier, someone asked a really good question about reels versus clips. And so what this is, to break it down for some of you new ones, the reel is a collection of all of your work that you have done. So we will take a scene from all of your films and television, and you will have someone put them together for you to make one long, awesome reel. Okay, so once you have 2 projects, you have a reel. Once you have 1, you have footage to put on Actors Access, okay? The reason why Actors Access offers you clips, and the reason why a lot of us actors and casting like clips, is because they're short. And the fact is that you have to pay $22 per minute for any footage. What that means is that if I have a clip that is 1 minute and 1 second long, I'm going to pay $44. Okay. That is on a financial side of things. But on casting, what is really nice is that casting is busy, and we work, everything in this business happens so fast. And that's why you always need to be ready. Be ready, stay ready. Casting is going through, and if you are a new actor to them and they see a whole reel and you have 4 minutes of a whole reel, they're not going to siphon through it to get to the part that might be what they're looking for. And if it's a comedy, let's say that they are casting a comedy and your reel starts off really dramatic and there's some comedy back there at the end, then it's kind of giving them the wrong impression anyways of what you can do. So instead, you can just have a comedy clip or a clip from a comedy that you've done, and your agent or you can just submit that to that particular project. And so we're making it really specific and easy on everybody. And if you can make somebody's life easier, they are going to like you.
Yeah, and casting has the ability to create kind of a collection that they submit to producers, so they can pull a few of your individual clips and make kind of like a mini reel that they forward along with your audition files. So it's not something these days that I recommend most people uploading their full reel. I do recommend always having it ready on your computer and on your phone, because there are times when you're going to upload that in addition to audition files, but having to pay the whatever it would be for a 4-minute reel, $88, what is it? Yeah. $88 to upload that reel. And then as you add a new clip and you have to add a whole new reel up there, I wouldn't do. Now I just do individual clips only.
Exactly. One thing that I haven't done, I just thought that I'm going to do this in all of my clips. If you take a look at my clips, they're just kind of labeled from the project. But what I should do, what I'm going to do, I promise you I'm going to do this, and I think that you should do this too, is that you should label them maybe the title, but then just put like drama. You know what I mean? This is going to help them.
I even go a little further, and I do the project. I do even better than what she does, and I do the project, and then I do the type of role sometimes. This is kind of the time where I would specify cop or drama, or because then your agent knows this is a
by role,
officer role, and they're going to submit me for that and submit this clip along with it.
Nice.
Excuse me.
You could do that too. So I personally, I don't have my full reel. I don't have that on Actors Access, but you can always upload that to when you're uploading your audition and you're uploading your tapes. You can always upload your full reel as well, especially if they request it to send separately. So do you have your full reel up there?
No, I've never uploaded my full reel. I do have a full audio demo reel, but as far as a video reel from film and television, no. We have a few questions about this kind of stuff. So Kathy says, hey Kathy, good to hear from you. What about student films that perhaps don't have great quality, but it's what you have?
This is what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to say all of this before you even read those questions, just so I don't skip out on this. There's a lot to say about these reels, y'all. There's a really good question. I get asked that so many times. I often get asked, well, if I don't have anything to put on my reel, what am I supposed to do? Should I upload an audition tape that I did? This is something that I'm really proud of. You could. My answer is you could, okay? I think if it was versus a strong audition tape versus a really bad independent or student film, I'd say go with that audition tape because it's going to be less distracting one. But the main point, y'all, is that a reel is kind of a calling card. It's showing casting and other professionals, this is where I am in my career. So if you have a reel where I've worked with some heavy hitters, like this is where she is in her career. Or if I have a reel where I'm just like, I just did the student film, it's some experience, you know, maybe they can see my talent through all this. They're still going to see that this is where you are in your career, okay? So really keep that in mind and play this game smart, because my main thing that I tell people is if you could put anything up there as a placeholder for now, because if you have a reel, that's the fourth thing you need, right? You will go straight to the top of the submission pool. So you need to put something, but be thoughtful about this. Do you have a special skill? Can you sing well? Do you play the flute? Are you a really good chess player? Do you have something? Everybody has something that they do really well. Because remember those special skills that you're checking those boxes on? Why not do a video like that, a special skill reel? And the reason I say that this is a better investment is because if you have a strong audition tape up there or a student film, just as a placeholder up there, the moment that you book real professional work, that thing is coming down, right? And we've already talked, it's $22, it's $44. So you just kind of spent a pretty penny on just a placeholder versus if you're an incredible skier or singer and you have footage of that, you're gonna keep that up there forever, regardless of all this other stuff that you book. So now that's a really smart investment versus just like spending money on time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something else we can talk about is we also offer a custom reel service where I write and direct original content, and it comes off like it's a short film, like it's something, a part of a project that actually happened versus just you popping in and doing a monologue or a scene that you're not really right for. I don't know what city you're in, but if you're in any of these markets, Atlanta or Mississippi, I'm sure there is somebody there that has a reel service company. So that's also a really great option to look into so that you can have some acting footage on there that comes off professional as well.
Yep. Got quite a few questions on this topic, so I'm going to run through some of these things. Regina says, what about adding public speaking events, reciting speeches, poems that shows your ability of speaking / learning lines?
We might have different opinions on this. I think if you are a poet and that is your special skill, and if you do it really well, like make it kind of like a music video in a sense of like, you know, really, as long as it's good quality, like nice lighting, you look fantastic. The sound quality is great. If it looks like a professional job that you have done, I would absolutely put it up there. But if it's you in bad lighting and bad, poor sound quality, and you're just there, you know, it's almost like home video, I wouldn't do it. Because remember, you always want them to see you as a professional, So is this good enough to show? Would you write your resume in a crayon? Even if you had the greatest extensive list of jobs experience, it just wouldn't be taken well. You know, human beings, we're full of this psychology. It's all about the packaging and how you present yourself, and you are your product. So just anything that you put out there to show someone, you also want to show them that you are intelligent and you understand what quality is, that you have an eye for quality. And so they are going to think, I'm going to take a chance on this person because this person, at least they know what's up. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if it's good quality, especially if you have nothing, then I would start with that. And then as soon as you get some other footage that you're proud of, then you can replace it. And just having something up there, I think is better than nothing as long as it's quality. It can definitely hurt you though if it's a terrible sound quality and terrible visuals. Another note on that is your reels, and this is something I struggled with at the beginning, your reels don't have to make sense. And what I mean by that is it's supposed to be a feature of you. So if maybe you did a student film and the other actor wasn't that great, or just this one moment sounds great, looks great, but the rest of it isn't, your reel can be comprised of different moments that just make you shine without building what happened before that. They don't have to know why you're doing this monologue. They just want to see how you deliver these lines. Does that make sense?
He should do a webinar on making your own reel.
Yeah,
You should do that. Put it in the comments if you're interested in something like that.
AE asked on the labeling of the clips, example, scorpion-drama-reporter.
So important.
Yeah, so I think on your resume, you don't put the type of role because they don't care. They just want to know supporting or lead or co-star or guest star. But on your clips, I think that's the time when casting or your agent is hunting for information that is going to support why you would be great for this new role. So that's an easy way for them to say, reporter, this is a reporter, bam, let me click on this real quick. It's just much easier. You want to eliminate the work for everyone in that space. So I think that's exactly how I would do it. And sometimes even on mine, if I've worked with somebody notable, then I'll even put like opposite so-and-so. If it's somebody really recognizable, just to entice them to click on and see that scene. But you don't have to do that.
That's smart. That was a really great question. And I thought that you were asking about the labeling of auditions, and we'll get to that. But really good in paying attention to the detail of things.
Yeah. Andrea said, I did a feature film, beautiful cinematography, but it's black and white. Should I include a clip still? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's many great films that are in black and white still. So as long as it sounds good, looks good, and you are proud of your work, then I think that's
absolutely
great. What is the standard going time on reels these days? 1 minute, 3 minute in between. I typically try to keep them 3 minutes or less. 4 is pushing it. I'll do 4, but over that, I try not to do that because I've seen casting directors clicking through reels and they're really just kind of clicking here, clicking here, clicking here. So they're not even watching the whole thing. So the shorter, the better. But if you have a lot of great clips, sometimes you just want to put all that in there.
Yeah, I think that the clips from Actors Access has really changed that game. Because back then you were just like, you're trying to keep all of your work under a minute, and then as you go, it's impossible, but now that we have clips, I think that really kind of changed the game. So the shorter is always better with our attention spans.
How do you obtain scenes from TV and film that you are credited on after they've aired on a network in order to add to a reel? So there's a lot of great ways you can do that. I do a service where I can, if it's available on Netflix or Hulu or anywhere online, then I can pull those clips for you. I think now we're charging $30 a clip for that. But there's other ways. If you have a screen recorder on your computer, you can just pull it up on Netflix and do the recording and try to get good audio and video. So just find a software that'll do it, or just reach out to us and we can take care of it.
Yeah, it's really easy on our end. But the one thing that you do want to make sure you do, if you're pulling your own clips, make sure you pull it in really high quality, because I mean, it's just, you don't want it to be
film
blurry.
Their television with their camera and it just.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Tracy said, I need something repeated. If I have an audition where I'm singing, should I put that up?
If you can sing well, absolutely. I have, on my special skills, I have playing, singing and playing guitar, because I can't tell you how many times I was going to say this about whoever asked the poetry question or the public speaking. I mean, I've auditioned so many times for, oh, we need a folk singer who blah, 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 or this is a public speaking scene, or even a poet. I auditioned for a poet who, saw a murder. It's not like, but you want to show them your skills. Absolutely. But, I want to say this too. Taping your theater performances never looks good. it never looks good. One,
Unless you're in Hamilton on Disney.
right. And that was almost like you were like, I still want to see it live. For some reason, it just doesn't transfer well. And something that scares casting a lot is you might be this brilliant theater actor and they're worried about bringing you in. You're much bigger, on stage. So that can affect it. It's just the psychology of it, I don't think works. I think sometimes it can hurt you more than help you. So I wouldn't add any live performances like that. Unless you're in a band or something like that, I would add that.
Cool. So we have a couple people asking about the reels. So I'll link to our YouTube channel. You can see the reels there. And then also I'll put our email address and you can just email us and we can work out when our next one. Right now we're working with a few people, but we'll tell you when our next availability is for that. So
Absolutely.
I'll chat that out. And then let's see. And that's all I have.
So I just want to clarify the 4 things that are going to help you guys get to the top of the submission pool. And when we move forward, we're actually going to show you an example on castings side of things, of what it looks like on that side and how you can clearly see these submissions. Some of them stay at the bottom and some of them stay at the top. So remember that headshot and resume, you got to have that up there, right? But then your reel is going to put you on top of them. And then if you want to be at the very top, add a slate shot. So your reel footage is the most important. That's the most powerful piece that will get you higher and higher. Okay. But if you only have a headshot, a resume, and a reel, and somebody else has those 3 things and a slate shot, they're going to be above you. And then after that, it's all kind of random. But those are the 4 things. And that slate shot is so easy. It's you can do it for nothing if you really wanted to. Just look real good, turn the phone sideways, hit play, record 7 seconds, and put it up there. And now you're at the top of the list. So I just want that to be very clear for everybody out there. So just give us a yes, or that's clear, that that those are the 4 things that you're going to work on to put up there so that you can be as competitive as you can be.
Got it. Copy. Great. Thank you. Awesome. Is that everything on the Actors Access side?
Slate shots. Yeah. Let's go to the other side of the moon.
So we're going to shift now to some things that most actors never see, the casting director side, because we do have roles that we posted for a film that we're working on and a show. So you'll get to see kind of what casting directors see. And then we'll also show you what your agent sees when they submit you. So you kind of see the back end of what happens when you're submitted and what your agent does to submit you and all those things.
Yeah. So we're going to show you everything that we just talked about, you need to check all these boxes and you need to have all 4 things. We're going to show you exactly how that plays out right now. Okay, so we are on the casting side of things. Welcome to Breakdown Express. Okay, so I'm going to click here. Wait for it.
This is one thing I want to point out too. This is just one role that we released, and it had almost 500 submissions. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And I've done interviews with casting directors asking like how many people are submitted. So this is just one role and almost 500 people. So if you don't get an audition for something, it's not always it's not always you, but these things that we're teaching you today can help get you higher and higher on the ranking. So at least you have a better shot of getting an audition. These are things that are in your control: the resume, the headshots, the slate shots, all those things.
Yes. And that's a good point to make, because, you get tired of scrolling. Look, y'all, what if I just found like, okay, I'm just going to audition 10 people. We're really busy and these 10 look good, and there's 5 pages of this. So you really want to get to the top of this list. Yeah.
And when we keep saying the top is relative. The top is the people who have done all of these things. They've done the headshot, the resume, the slate shot, and the reel. So you're not number 1 on the list, but you're in the top category of all those people. You'll see how many people don't have those things and how far down this submission list they are, because they don't have a reel, they don't have a slate shot.
You're going to see it right now. right now. So let's look at this breakdown. Jamie's dad, 30 to 40 years old. We have an age range. All ethnicities, male. We have a gender. We have ethnicities. Fit and handsome. Okay. Long flowing hair, a plus, but not required. So there's very specific things that we are looking for. So right now, your agent gets this submission and they go plugging away on their end, right, to try to find people with long hair, fit, handsome, 30 to 40s, any ethnicity, male. Yeah. So, and this is what comes up. So when we say get to the top of the submission list, we mean the first to be seen. Yeah. That does not guarantee you an audition, right? So we can still go in and select, but this is what I really want to show you. Resume, headshot, reel, slate shot. All of these people at the top of this list have all four, okay? And so this is page 1 out of, I believe, let's scroll on downtown. 1 of 5, okay? So just to save us a little time, let's go to 5 of 5. So this is the pool that they're at the back of the line in Disneyland. Love it. Okay, so now you might be way better. This guy, long flowing hair, right? He might be a better fit than the people at the top of the page, but I might never see him. Because now I want y'all to see, look down here, headshot resume, headshot, right? I don't know how he made it. Look, he didn't have any of that, but he does. I think there's a glitch because obviously there's a photo there. But do you see how this is like the difference? Some of these people are much more qualified. They would maybe have a better audition, but they didn't get seen.
And it's not an exact science because obviously there's people up here that have just a headshot and they're a little higher ranked. So I don't know if there's a timing issue of when they submitted, but definitely the bulk of the people that are at the tail end are people that are lacking those missing categories. Primarily the reel and the slate shot seem to be the most important factors.
Yes, that reel, I think especially, and then that slate shot is just kind of the cherry on top. Like if you want to beat somebody with the 3, you know, the reel, the headshot, and the resume, then just add that little slate shot. And what could be happening, honestly, what I think is happening is that these are sometimes updated in real time. So at the time of submission, they might have not had everything, and now they have something. But it's really interesting to see it on this side. And I will say, Actors Access, there are so many different platforms out there that you can, once you become an actor, you're like, how do I get a job? How do I get an agent? How do I do any of this stuff? And then there's like Cast It Networks, you know, and this, and Cast Me Now, or whatever. There's all these platforms. Actors Access has been around. If you can only pick one, get on Actors Access. Even last night when we were going through this, we found someone who is not good for our role submission, but whose reel was incredible. His reel was incredible. He was such a great actor. And then we noticed that he submitted, do you see right here, it says Actors Access? So that means that they submitted themselves. And then this under here will tell you the agency or the representation. He submitted himself and it was from Actors Access. So we actually reached out to him to see if he had representation and if we could help him in any way, because he was fantastic. So you never know what's going to happen to you in this business, but you got to put yourself out there to play the game.
Yep. A couple other things I want to talk about this. First, Tracy had a question about adding notes in the submission. We're going to get to that in just a second.
For sure. Good job.
But I want you to notice something about the headshots here, because we talked about the importance of having a quality headshot, but casting directors are skimming through these things and they're seeing these little thumbnails. So your headshot really has to pop if they're going to recognize you and call you in. But number 2, if you have a great headshot and it's been maybe 2 years since you've had it, you still think you look the same, so you don't see the reason to update it. But sometimes casting directors get fatigued of just seeing your face over and over again. So sometimes some new headshot is the thing that reignites. Oh, what is that? Oh yeah, I forgot about them. So those things I would just always be testing those things. I know it's expensive to get headshots, so try to get several of them that you can do at one time and kind of interchange them out. But I think it's valuable to always be rotating and testing different headshots, just like if you're testing an ad that you're running in the paper or online, you want to be testing headshots to see what's getting you called in the most.
That being said, I want to mention this. When you're an actor and you're starting out, and hopefully even now as a seasoned actor, you're still hungry, man, and you just want to work, right? But you guys be smart about everything that you do, because it's annoying. If you don't fit this breakdown, don't submit to it. There's on one of these pages, there's a young lady submitted herself to this thing, and it's just more work for them. You know what I mean? Be eager and be hungry and like take every shot that you get, but also be very calculated and respect people's time and their knowledge as well. You don't want to submit yourself for something that you're totally wrong for just for the sake of submitting yourself. You know, you want to be thoughtful, and you want to know that you want to let other people know that you're knowledgeable, you're self-aware, that you have talent. You know, just be really thoughtful, because I remember what it's like. I do. But I'm telling you, on this end, it's tricky. And so something like this guy could be an amazing actor, but this is not headshot, you know, it's just not. And so there's a difference between bringing in someone that's been procured by an agency who is definitely a professional. You learned about them, you were connected to them through another professional, than having an open casting call and bringing in people from the street. If that was the way that they wanted to do it, none of this would even exist, you know? So just be mindful of that.
Tarina says, can you do headshots yourself at home to save on money? You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would say if you have nothing and just it's very tight, then I'd say that's a way to get started. But as soon as you can afford it, I would get a professional headshot photographer to do it, just because you're already paying to upload it beyond your first one. So you might as well have something that is going to be recognized as quality. And just it pops a certain way where casting directors is like, oh, I don't know who this is. I want to call them in and see what they can do.
Absolutely. And, you know, I want to say this because as an actor, I'm so compassionate towards other actors who are just, you know, acting is expensive. I'm just going to say it. It's expensive because it's so competitive, right? And if you want to play on a professional level, then everything that you have and do has to be professional, you know. And I think with money is a tricky game for actors, but you have to protect this craft, y'all. And you know, if you're getting into acting to get rich, you might want to get some other side hustles going, you know, because take the time to, if you've got to put aside $25 a week, you know, for just a few months so that you can afford to get the headshots that you deserve, then do that. Because remember, this is an investment. You need these things to get a job. You need these things to make money. And so people want to see that you have invested in yourself so that they will invest in you.
Let's see, I just realized I think I didn't chat to everybody. So I'm chatting out our link to our reels on YouTube as well as our email address here. And then I'll chat out the headshot photographers earlier because I think I just chatted to myself.
I want to say this one more thing about like the saving money. I think that it's really smart of all of us to really look where we're putting our money, because this game is so competitive and it can be expensive, right? So when it comes to your marketing materials, don't skimp that. If you can like study everything you can on YouTube about acting, or, you know, learn how to get a free coaching from someone for doing work, barter, trade, or anything like that, that's fantastic. You have to still get those things. Definitely invest in getting training. But when it comes to headshots, your reels, just anything, a really nice tape. It doesn't have to be a fancy tape, but they need to see and hear you. Those things really hurt you. So just don't skimp on the quality of those things for sure.
One final thing I'll say on headshots, there are a few questions about should your agent have input on your headshots and things like that. I think oftentimes they want to, but one word of caution I would say is if you go to a photographer that gives you just a database of 300 shots, don't just forward that link to your agent. Narrow those down to your top 5, 10, or whatever, and then start getting feedback from people on those, because otherwise you'll have, number one, your agent probably won't do it because they'll just feel overwhelmed. But number two, you'll have maybe too wide of a net of people like, oh, I like number 47. Oh, I like 143. So you need to narrow down what you like first and then have people select from those few choices.
Yeah. And then also, whenever you do a bunch of different looks, let's say you do 3 or 4 looks, you typically want to find what's the best photo in that look, you know? So if you, because remember, they're going to be kind of side by side on Actors Access. So you don't want, if all of your best shots are in this one look, you want to have a variety of different looks and just pick the best shot from each look.
Cool. All right, I think we've shown enough on this side. Let's move on to the agent side and see what you see when you get auditions, as well as what your agent sees when they submit you.
What would you like to go to?
So,
Jason with the buttons.
I know how to push buttons. All right, back to this view.
Jason with the slides.
Are you guys getting value out of this? Let us know in the chat here.
Yes, I hope so.
All right, so here's the links again. If you need, you want to check out our YouTube channel, please subscribe.
Oh my God, that would help us so much.
And email us there if you want to, if you have any questions about what we covered today, or reels, or coaching, we'll talk about in a little bit.
Just subscribe.
Boom.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So oftentimes we saw what we need to do on our end on our Actors Access. We saw what casting directors see when you get submitted to them. But now let's see what your agent sees when they go through that process of seeing a breakdown and how they go and submit you.
Cool.
So here you can see on this screen, this is a screenshot of breakdown services. And this is the breakdown that we just saw the casting director view, but now this is what an agent would click on. So you can see the casting director is me, it's listed as a pilot, and here's the name of the project. And then here's the breakdown for Jamie's dad, 30 to 40 years old, all ethnicities male, fit and handsome. Long flowing hair is a plus, but not required. So this is where your agent will go through their roster and they'll start checking boxes of, oh my gosh. Start checking boxes of the age range. So they type in here 30 to 40.
Don't touch anything.
Don't touch any buttons.
Is it just the slide? Okay, it's not the real thing.
Don't touch any buttons.
It's a facade.
They type in 30 to 40 here. They'll type in all ethnicities. And this is where, if we said must be able to play the flute, those things, that's where they would start narrowing down those choices.
And that's when you stand out.
Yeah.
You have
So
long hair and you can play the flute.
it's a little harder to see here, but hair, if we said must have blonde hair, must have long blonde hair, so they'd be able to check blonde hair and long hair here. And then further down, there'd be more of the specific skills and things that your agent could pick, but I didn't take a screenshot of that. So they can do different heights. Sometimes there is a height requirement. It must be over 6 foot because the lead of the movie is that tall and you don't want to look too small by them, or vice versa. A lot of different things play a role in you filling out those profiles completely.
Yep. Fill it out, fill it out.
Now, say your agent submitted you for that role, the casting director liked your headshot, you had all your stuff filled out, so you were at the top of the list. Now you get an audition, and this is where the process goes, where you'll get a CMail. So you want to talk about this part?
Sure. So you just got a mail. So you have this email that pops up in your on your email. A lot of times it'll be an Actors Access link, right? So you go to Actors Access, you check it, you're excited. And so this is what pretty much almost every email looks like. Okay, I just scrolled. I'll let Jason do the buttons and I'll do the talking. Okay. Okay. So if you look at EcoCast title, it will tell you the name of the project. So you'll see that this is Queen of the South, episode 506, breakdown title, same thing. We can look there, breakdown, left heading, the 1 hour episodic. This is super important for, rhythm, timing, tone, all those things. That's more on the acting end, but you want to read everything. My advice always to other actors too is if you get other people's sides, read those sides too. You're trying to figure out the whole story. So what a lot of you need to know, especially if you're coming from theater into film and television, you don't get the whole script. These scripts are very hush-hush, they're very confidential, and you are going to get this tiny slice of life. Whatever scene you are auditioning for, you might not get all of the scenes that you'll actually be playing, but you just get that small little chunk, what's good enough to audition with. And that's all you tend to get for the story. So a lot of times you're like reading through it and you have so many questions and you don't know how this is going to play out because you don't know the story. So everything that you get, man, just try to read all of it. Read the whole character breakdown. So for our agency, I know that different agents do it differently, but we will receive a C-mail from Actors Access, and then we'll also receive from our agent an email with the breakdown, the character breakdown. It'll have the breakdown, the synopsis of the story, the whole storyline, and then it'll have the character breakdown, every character that they're auditioning for in that episode or the film, and it'll describe, it'll have all the character descriptions. Read all of it. Read all of it.
Yeah, and if it's a notable show, like something that's already been on the air and it's in season 5, go and YouTube different clips from that show so you can get the tone of the show and kind of see the style of it. Sometimes they're really campy, sometimes they're really serious and still and quiet. So like Queen Sugar is much different than NCIS as far as tone and style, I guess.
Yeah. And then, you have the producers, director, writer, casting directors. So on our end, if you are in a smaller market like we are, the casting directors, you'll be able to see the main casting directors, not just the regional or the local casting director who you received the audition from. But you can IMDb all of these people, Google all of these people, see what kind of projects they've done, see what their tone is, what kind of genre they do. It has a lot of evidence for your audition. Okay, so right here, role name, it will say Jim McAfee. And this will be the role that you will be auditioning for. It'll have your character breakdown right here, hopefully. And then the casting director who sent it to you right underneath. Can you scroll down? Because I don't want to touch it. So this is 2 pages, but really it's a long scroll. And if you see here, these are all the other characters that are auditioning. So read all of that and you'll gain knowledge of the story. And then here, this will usually be where your sides are if they're not emailed to you separately. And your sides are the part of the script that you'll be auditioning with, the scenes that you're auditioning from.
Yeah. And I would say if you get an audition, and I would check here first for the sides, and then I would also give your agent like an hour or so to get you the sides, because sometimes if there's 15 roles, they have multiple people they have to email those to. So don't hit your agent up immediately saying, where are the sides? But if you don't have them within an hour or so, then that's reasonable.
Then you hit your agent up and you're like, where are those sides? But there's also something called Sides Express.
Yeah.
It's part of breakdown services as well. It's an additional fee. It's a membership as well. But then you can go in and put the sides code and you can get the sides as soon as you have notification of an audition.
But I'm not sure who gets access to that. I don't know if it's just agents and casting that can get a membership to that.
I think anybody can.
I'm not sure.
Maybe. He's probably right. One thing I do want to say that kind of calls back to one of those labeling questions is right here, it says audition guidelines. You will click on that. Every casting department has different guidelines of what they want. They're always going to want you to have good lighting, decent lighting, right? They want to see you. They want to hear you really clearly, be in a quiet room. They don't want a distracting background. Okay, but they don't ask for anything too fancy. Those things are just kind of common knowledge, just send an efficient tape. But where they get really specific and they tend to differentiate is the way that they want you to label the project. So just like if you look into the notes, how someone had mentioned like this is how we should maybe label our reels. It was super specific. So when they say, I want you to label your slate, such as example, if they have all capital letters and it's first name, last name, underscore, slate, and then slate isn't capitalized, do it exactly the way that they asked you to do it. And then pay attention every single time, because even some of the same casting directors have different labeling instructions for their different projects. No, it's doing this, but they do. So you always want to show them that as an actor, you know how to follow directions, because you as an actor are hired to follow directions. There will be a director, they will be directing you, and they want to see you follow it.
And I know it may seem like, what's the point? It's going to up to EcoCast, so they're just gonna be able to click on it and watch it anyway. But oftentimes casting assistants, so people that work for the casting director, sometimes have to download these files, reorganize them, recompile them. And when they start downloading 100 auditions and yours isn't labeled, guess where it is? It's in the trash or at the very bottom, if it even gets watched at all. So I've experienced that because I worked for a casting director that I had to download these things and put them into a different system because that's what the studio wanted. And there were a ton of files that if I had time, I would be able to go through and then say, who is this? And hopefully they said their name in their slate or where they're from, and I could label it for them and upload it. But if they didn't, there's nothing I could do. I didn't know who they were.
And not just that, the best advice I ever heard was don't give them one single reason to tell you no. Never give them one single reason. If you're ever like in doubt or on the fence about, should I do this? Or, you know what I mean? Just give them 0 reasons to say no to you. Yep. You'll be fine.
One common way I see that is if you tape auditions on your phone, sometimes it has that weird labeling like iMovie.whatever. Just make sure as you upload it, we'll show you this screen in a second, but you can actually, this is a newer feature. You can rename the file even after you've uploaded it. It used to not be able to, so we'll get to that. This though, let's talk about the submission.
Yeah, submission notes. So this part right here, y'all, is super, super important. So with all this information, you just got this email with all of the information about the project, the character breakdown, the synopsis. You have another email from your agent that says the sides and all this other stuff. Now you open up the sides and you have all these long taping instructions. Read everything, because there are several casting directors who will say in the submission notes, we want the actor to state 1, location, 2, will you change your hair, 3, where are you based out of, will you work local hire, all these things that they want to know. And if you don't put them in there, it's just like the labeling, it's just cutting down the competition. You know what I mean? So the really important thing that you need to know is once you get to this page, you have got to put in the submission notes now, because once you move forward, they might have changed it. We've talked about this, but just in case, you cannot go back and change the submission notes. So you need to make sure that you go in, you submit, and you put save submission notes.
Yeah, that button is very important. Sometimes you put that in and then you click upload media and you haven't saved the actual note. So make sure you hit save. I don't know that you get a confirmation, so just make sure you hit it.
Yeah, it's a pop-up and it'll say
submission save. Note
yeah,
saved
yeah, it'll say something like that. All right.
Cool.
I am such a nerd.
Okay, so now you've submitted your submission notes if you need to, and now you're on the page where you're actually going to upload your
media,
your audition files.
So it's the same thing with uploading a photo or a video to social media or anything like that. You're going to click browse, you're going to find it in your desktop or your downloads, and just upload it. Actors Access will only let you upload videos one at a time. So it'll take a little time. Make sure you upload all the videos, your slates. Oh, something else to really pay attention to as well is in the taping instructions, they will usually specify that they want you to send them as separate files, meaning scene 1, I want separate from scene 2 is a separate file, and your slate is a separate file. And all of them have specific instructions on how to label them, versus some of them might be like, put everything in one file. You must do a slate. You must do a full body slate, put it at the end of the video or separate. And then if they don't say anything about it, there are some casting directors that are just really lax and they don't specify because it's going on to an EcoCast anyways, that they don't say anything about labeling or slates or whatever, then don't worry about it. It's like once in a lifetime opportunity to not worry about all the tedious things.
Yeah, I would
Just
still
do
put
common sense.
some general labeling name, name dash role dash agency, or name dash role, just something that has your name attached to that role at least.
Absolutely, especially in the project. If you are emailing, some casting directors are super old school. They don't even use EcoCast and Actors Access, and you will be emailing your file. If you ever have to do that, make sure you put the project, because they have several different projects. Put the project, put the role, put all the information that you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're almost at the end, guys. So start chatting in your questions here, and then we'll wrap up and do a Q&A session for anyone that wants to stick around and ask anything else. So as you hit that browse button, that's where you'll access the media, and then you get to this page where you start uploading the files.
Okay, and now they're all uploaded. And so you see my submission notes up here have been saved. I'm currently, by the way, we don't know this person. This came off of Actors Access.
So, it came off of some site that did a demo. I'm not sure where it came
we don't,
from.
yeah.
Hopefully he booked the job.
Yeah, exactly. Currently based in LA, I have no conflicts, March, blah, blah, blah. I'm over 18, all these things. So this is where it gets really good. So you can preview them. Make sure always preview your auditions. Make sure nothing weird happened through them, and make sure that the right tape got uploaded, all those things. But right here is really great because this is where you can rename your media. So all the way to the end, you have every opportunity to rename it. So you would click rename, this button it would open up like this, and you can go ahead, rename it however it's supposed to be, double check, and then click save, and it'll be renamed. And here's another thing that that you should know that you can do. You can move the order of these files around. So if I want to put, if it's scene 2, if my scene 2 is like better to me, this is what I do. If my scene 2 is like the best scene out of my audition, I'll put that on the top because that's what I want them to watch first. Scene 2, scene 1, and then my slate, my reel, I'll make sure that it's in an order that I have control over, or however you like, but you can reorder them.
Yeah. And this is a time too, as we talked about, having clips on your Actors Access, but if you have a full reel that you think is pertinent to this role, depending on the casting director, but generally I've found it's been okay. I upload my reel oftentimes as an additional file to my audition file. So if they want it, they can use it. They have the ability to hide certain clips that they don't want to send to producers if they do want to forward your stuff. So I don't think it hurts, but don't take my word 100% for that. Just what I do. All right.
You have good practices.
All right.
There's questions.
So we got a lot
Scroll up. There was something that we missed.
Lena says, would a casting director send you mock sides so that they can see you perform, or a role that they may have you in mind for in the future?
Yes. Well, it might not be for those purposes. That absolutely. During the pandemic, there were so many opportunities just to be seen by casting directors. But usually you will receive mock sides like 100% of the time, depending on the show. So if it was for like The Walking Dead, we never saw a real script ever throughout the whole production. Anything that is like super confidential, Marvel, they have writers on their team that write mock sides that have nothing to do with the show or the synopsis, the plot at all, but they are looking for the essence of that character. And so they can see it through those mock sides, but absolutely, absolutely.
Let's see. Sorry, you may have said this. Do you have to write submission notes, or if instructions say so? So only if they specify we need these things. Sometimes if you just want to type in like, thank you for the opportunity or something, you can do that, but you don't have to unless they've asked for them. But just make sure there's sometimes a lot of different places that those instructions might land. They might not be on the actual EcoCast that you got. They might be an additional PDF file that you have to download and read through. So just be thorough in your process of looking to make sure they aren't asking for that.
Yeah, and there are often times where a casting office will send a certain CMail and they have all of the general stuff that they always say. And then if it's for that specific project, they might have you be doing something totally different from what that says. So you just kind of have to decipher what exactly is it that they want for this particular project, if that makes sense. Sometimes it gets a little muddy, but just cover your bases, you know, and don't worry about it.
Tracy said, what about the initial submission to get the audition? Should we write anything? I think if you're submitting yourself, I've been to like a Raven Drummer workshop who does a lot of the Tyler Perry casting. She said she loves getting notes like that. Like especially if you've gone to one of her workshops or something, you can put something in there. Or if you have some skill that's relevant to the role, I think that's fine too. On the agency side, your agent can write notes for you, but you don't have the ability to put the submission notes in there. So if they do, they don't, I don't know.
Yeah, they'll be like, just booked Queen of the South or anything like that to kind of help pitch you. I will say this about like writing notes, or any action that you take in general. Sometimes it's just the best practice is to put yourself on the receiving end. Like I can't tell you how many times I hear from agents that they receive submissions to agencies of just like, how do I get a job? Or how do I, you know what I mean? Instead of just like, a thoughtful letter about yourself when someone knows nothing about you or you're trying to get into the door with them, you know, trying to get them to just take a chance on you and spend some time with you. A thoughtful note or a letter about yourself, an introduction goes a really long way. I mean, just picture if you were on the casting end and you have a new face or you have, you know, an agent, you're an agent and you have some submissions and everybody's got a headshot and a resume, but they don't tell you anything about themselves. It's kind of cocky, you guys. So just be humble, you know, be respectful and share of yourself and just always do it in a professional manner. And I really think that goes a long way.
David said, if we're filming our slate shot at home with our camera and the casting director asks for a full body shot in the slate, do you prefer to film the slate medium and then add a full body shot at the end, or do you prefer filming the entire slate full body?
Oh, I love these questions. It's from David. So that goes back to like being specific, right? If the casting director is not that specific about it, then they really can't complain. You know what I mean? Trust me, when they want something done, they will be very specific about it. So what you have to kind of consider with these casting directors is that they are used to you coming into their office and having full control over what they do. So when they're typing out these, you know, I want a full body slate, state your name and height, you know, then give them, if you want to do a full body slate, just do it all in a full body and say your name and height. Or if, you know, some of them say, do a close up and then we want you to zoom out. And you might not have that much room in your home. Just remember, they want the full body slate so they can see your full body. So what I used to do when I lived in a smaller space is I literally took a vertical, like a selfie picture. I would have someone take a full body picture of me on my phone, and I would attach that to the end of the video of my slate saying a close up and name and height. So really, it's just that do the best you can. You know, they don't expect you to be cinematographers or to have these huge studio spaces. But I think just being smart, you know, with it and just like, what's the best choice? What is the best thing that I can do right now? And it might be to take a vertical photo, but if they can see your full body, they're going to be happy. At least they should be, you know. But I will say this about slates. If someone says, just put your name, state your name, your height, and your agency. Just do those things. Like, this is not the time to be like, you don't have to be boring or sterile with your performance, right? But just always remember that they're busy. They're busy. And sometimes they get annoyed with all the extra fluff. So just the opposite of saying, you know, sometimes a note goes a long way if you're trying to get in with an agent. the casting doesn't want to know your favorite color and what you like to do for hobbies and all those things. Like just keep it really professional and sharp and short and to the point.
Cool. Any other final questions, guys, as we wrap up? I didn't realize we had gone so long, but let's see.
Go bigger on your video.
Oh, I just made it
Oh, thank
full
you.
screen. Lots of good information. Thank you.
I do the picture thing too. I've never had an issue. It works.
Yeah. The only thing I would say don't do on slates is the slow like pan where you spend time in the midsection a little too long. Like a quick one, or just what I love to do is just a medium shot and then cut to a wide shot. Just do a quick little edit in iMovie or whatever.
One more thing on slates, I think that is really important because man, actors are tricky, man. Do the slate the same day. So a lot of these projects have gotten really smart and they're like, we want the actor to take a picture of themselves the same day, a close-up shot, the same day of their audition. Because what happens is a lot of actors will have their audition and then they'll have this slate that they really liked, or, it's just something, they're in a different outfit or something, and they'll attach some old slate to that audition and they might look different or something. I don't know really why, but just don't do that. Don't be tricky. Don't be tricky.
Awesome. Thanks, Kermit. Good to hear from you,
Thank
man.
you.
Cool. Well, I think we're going to wrap up then. This will be available on YouTube and Facebook and other places soon. So also check out the reels if you haven't already. The link is there. It's trendifymedia.com/YouTube. You can see all of our stuff. And then our email is hello@trendifymedia.com. And then if you're looking for just some weekly work, some kind of like ongoing class type work, Wanetah's been doing a lot of classes like that. So you want to talk a little bit about that? You don't have to do specific dates or whatever. But.
Yeah. So right now, the only thing that we haven't booked fully is the Thursday night. So if you want to join, there are still some seats available. It's limited to 8 because it is virtual Zoom class. Monday nights are full. I am toying with a weekend class just because there's been a lot of response about trying to get in on the weekends. So Saturdays are a possibility, but you can always email me at wanetah@wanetah.com or hello@trendifymedia. We will also be sending the recording with a follow-up email as well. So you'll be able to have our contact information. But Thursday nights will be a virtual group night, 7 p.m. Central. And right now, that is all we're offering. If you are interested in a weekend session, do send us a note. If I have enough interest and this class fills up, since Mondays are overflowed now too as well. So I would definitely look into opening something on Saturday.
Yeah. Vanessa said you offer consultations on the acting reels. Yes, on not only the full program that she has where you do custom reels, but also if you just need a demo reel edited, then reach out to us and we can talk about editing reels from existing footage that you already have. So message us on that. And then what is the youngest age for your classes and what time?
Well, it depends. If it's a private lesson, I take some very young, like youth actors, just kind of depending on just my own private basis. But I do not have a group youth acting class. I do have someone I highly recommend. If you want to shoot us an email, I will send that over and that will be virtual. We are looking to go back to in-person live workshops and classes, hopefully in March after I finish this next round of custom reels for some students. And that's what I love. I love to like just kind of be in the room and be connected that way. But hopefully virtually this will all work out. But yeah, just shoot us an email. I know that was kind of a vague roundabout thing. I don't have a group class for youth yet.
All right, I just chatted out our email one more time, but thank you guys so much for coming. Hopefully you got some value out of this when we post it. We'd appreciate if you share it. And thank you for all of you who subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be putting out a lot of different types of content on there for actors and people in the creative fields, but also some other stuff outside of that. So,
and also shoot us some feedback on what you'd like to learn, what you'd like to know. We'd love to help.
awesome. Cool, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy Saturday.